Hey friends, this is future Patty.
And Kim.
Before we get started with this week's episode, we just wanted to say a huge thank you for your feedback and for listening to our pilot episode. Came out last week. You're also incredible, and we cannot wait to hear more of your reactions to this episode and the future ones too.
Yeah, the support has been unreal, and we can't thank you all enough for being interested and tuning into our BFF Babbles. We're still figuring out which day of the week we'll be uploading due to the time difference, but there will be a new episode every single week, so keep tuned. Our podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Spreaker.
Don't forget to subscribe on whichever platform you're listening to so you're notified when a new episode is released. We'll also be uploading the audio on our YouTube channel, Long Distance BFFs, so you have plenty of options where to listen. So, without further ado, let's get into this week's episode.
Yay!
Hi, Kim.
Hey, what's up? How you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. It's Friday, so I feel like you cannot complain on a Friday. Like, if you're complaining on a Friday, maybe just go to sleep and then wake up on a Saturday.
You can always turn your Fridays around, even if you had like a really hard day at work or school. It's the weekend, and you just finished up work a few hours ago, right?
Yeah, an hour ago. We actually
Nice.
had a beer o'clock. That's a tradition that we have every
Aw.
Friday at 4 p.m. Everyone just, well, normally in the office, when we're not on quarantine, everyone just gets a beer from the fridge and cheers. And, for 30 minutes to an hour, we hang out. And then everyone either gets back to work or leaves for the weekend.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, we had an extended one today for an hour and a half. So technically, I was
Ooh,
at work, but not really.
nice. Okay, what beer did you drink?
Today, I drank some wine.
Yeah,
Yes.
you were the bougie one in the crowd. Love it. Okay.
Actually, there were 3 people. So normally everybody drinks beer because this is Germany and, beer only. But there were 3 people who were drinking wine with me. So that made me feel better about slightly breaking the tradition. But the point is having alcohol.
I mean, you guys are all at home, so that's already a tradition. Not breaker, but a different, kind of scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice. Clink, clink.
Clink, clink.
Yeah, do you have any special plans for the weekend?
A friend of mine who's been quarantining too for like 5 weeks now. She's coming over and we'll take a stroll at the park and keep a safe
Oh,
distance. Maybe do a
nice.
little bit of a photo shoot because she wants to, I don't know, just, as a
I
little
love this.
self confidence booster. But yeah,
Oh.
that's about it.
Yeah, I think it's been a while for a lot of us, like photo shoots, like being out and
Yeah.
about. Oh, that'll be nice. And I'm sure you guys will take the necessary precautions while you guys are hanging out. Are you guys on lockdown and then have a date until it's over with?
Yeah, so the German government just ruled until May 5th, not that every public life will return to normal.
Yeah.
Some schools will reopen depending, I think the kitas or the
Ooh.
kindergartens will reopen, and maybe some graduating class is what I heard. All the news here is in German, so I
Oh,
take what people tell me and I trust those
oh,
people, so hopefully they're not messing with
yeah.
me. But in terms of maybe clubs or more public areas, I think that'll slowly come. German government is really pushing or just talking about the recovery or reopening basically of public life. So, and how about over
Interesting.
there?
Yeah. It's very similar. Actually, I think May 5th is also our day, if not May 4th. It's May 4th because I remember thinking of the May the 4th be with you joke that everyone always
Yeah.
comes up with. But yeah, very similar here. Constant talk about everything reopening and returning to a sort of normal. So we'll see. But for me personally, I feel like I'm going to give it another week at least, maybe 2 weeks before I return or resume to normal life. I mean, if I can. I probably will be going back to work. So actually, maybe I won't be able to just chill and coast for another 2 weeks, but I'm going to push for it. I'm going to try because I don't know. I'm just scared. And then there's all this talk about a second wind, not second win, second wind. So we'll see. But yeah, enough about that. Enough about this crazy talk. I'm sure everyone hears it everywhere. So let's get into this week's topic, which is us.
For those of you who know us, we're from the Bay Area and we met during high school. Actually, no, middle school, but we didn't become best friends until junior year of high school. So we'll get into a little bit of how we met and how we kind of knew each other and where we separated and started this long distance friendship for years now. I think
Yeah.
it's been 7 years.
Ah!
So it's kind of crazy. And so we'll talk about the good sides and the bad sides, or not bad, but the struggles of keeping a best friendship from 200 miles away to 8,000 miles away or 5,000. And hopefully, you all take away that friendships are definitely not easy, but they work if you make it work.
And they're worth it. Yes,
Exactly.
so worth it. So my memory is kind of a blur, but I do remember the good parts, and Patty is definitely a big good part.
I better be a big good part.
Yes, she definitely was. We obviously, like she mentioned, we didn't become the friends that we are now or the best friends until late high school. We did meet in middle school in leadership.
For those of you not in the US or maybe even the California state system, leadership is a class where honestly, I don't even know how
You're
how
you're a leader.
you become a leader there. I guess it was a big job.
Yeah, you kind of learn to be a leader. It's like one of the earliest introductions to leadership in real life. Gosh, we do not know how to explain this, but
Basically, the leadership committee puts on events for the whole
yeah,
school.
like what do you call that? Like they're not proms, but they would be like school dances.
Even weekly lunchtime activities just to get the whole school involved. It was definitely a fun time and a fun group to be part of.
Yeah, definitely.
We did meet there, but I don't even think we interacted much, maybe besides group work that we
Yeah.
had to
But
do.
we always did have similar friends. She came from a different middle school.
Yeah, because my middle school shut down, and I think the rumors were that there was a gas leak or something. The school was built on top of a gas line, and that we had
Yeah.
to evacuate, and it wasn't safe for the students and everybody to be there. So we had to transfer on our last year of middle school out to this new school.
Where I was. Yeah, so that's how we ended up in the same place at the same time.
And in high school, we actually played on the same basketball team.
Oh,
And
I
during
found that
freshman
out
year, do
too.
you remember that one season? It was a one season wonder.
Oh my gosh.
I remember going to different schools and just traveling with you and a couple of other girls that were in our basketball team.
That's right.
That's where we started to become closer. It wasn't until really junior year where we just started to hang out in your car because that's what teenagers did when you were able to drive. You just drive everyone everywhere.
Although Patty was the first person I knew and in our friend group to have a license, have an iPhone, and be able to drive. So she was the first one to drive everyone around everywhere. But then I was, I think, like the second. My grandpa passed down his car to me, and it was a really nice car. It was almost like a race car. It was a 1999 Honda Prelude for my car people. Just kidding.
Like car
No,
people.
no car people are listening to this, I'm sure. It had VTEC, so yeah, it was a car. It had a moonroof
It
and
was a
everything.
car, right? It had four wheels, an engine, and a
No,
steering
yeah,
wheel.
it was definitely a car. My car was like the little hangout car. Gosh, how long can I talk about it?
Drink every time she says car, everybody. Rewind
I know.
3 minutes or 5 minutes back.
Let's do like a shot challenge or a sip challenge. Here I go. What were you gonna say
Your car.
about? Yeah.
I was saying that it had all these little knickknacks in it, and I don't know. You've always been you've always had a thing for knickknacks.
That's all. Yeah, that's always been my thing. I like to make places homey, and to do that, I usually collect knickknacks wherever, like in whatever space that's mine. But yeah, so we would hang out with our group of friends in my car. We'd go to like viewpoints and kickbacks. I'm sure everyone knows what a kickback is. We
Maybe
won't go into
not,
it.
actually.
Really?
We have
Is
to
it like
think
a Bay
globally
Area
now
thing?
because, yeah, I don't even think it was used in Seattle or even in San Diego. I feel like it wasn't
What would you guys say?
a party. I don't know. Or a get together. I don't know. I feel
Oh,
like
okay.
kickback was very much a Bay Area thing, and I don't remember using it at all in college. So
Now that I think about it, yeah, even in LA when I lived there, the group of friends I acquired there always threw little parties and they never mentioned kickback. So yeah, I think it is just a Bay Area thing. But basically, a kickback is kind of a small, sometimes big gathering of friends, people you know, friends of friends. They all get together in either someone's garage or backyard or even in the house if the parents aren't home with, fun things, fun activities.
but mind you, it's not a party. It's a kickback.
It's a
There's a
kickback. I
difference.
know it sounds like I just described a party, but a kickback is more, it's just like more
It's
laid
chill.
back. Yeah.
But speaking of kickbacks, you had one for your birthday. I think it was actually your 17th birthday.
Are you sure? Are you sure it wasn't my 18th?
Because it was for sure junior year. It couldn't have been, it was during the summer, and I think it might have been before our senior year. Anyway, this kickback, we invited a lot of people, friends of
A
friends.
part of the people that we invited were these two guys. I'm going to go through this memory quickly, but we thought we'd mention it because it's one of our favorite memories together. So these two guys were at the party and they were just into us. Guys, I'm telling you, they were into us, just following us. And we were more so prioritizing time with the rest of everyone in the party, obviously, our friends. I kind of designated Patty as my co-host. Her and I were together everywhere, talking to everyone, but these guys would just not leave us alone. I'd say like halfway into the party, we kind of snuck away, just wanted to hang out with our friends. And we, even when we went to go hang out with our friends, they would be around. So we're just completely over it. So we went into the house and found my then guest bedroom in this house. And there was obviously nobody in it. So we just went in there. We kept the lights off because we didn't want anyone thinking that this was a room that you could go into. We just sat on the floor in the dark. Eventually we heard them looking for us. I remember this very vividly. Both Patty and I heard them in the hallway. So we moved from like just sitting in the dark in the middle of the floor in that room to inside of the closet in that room because we just really wanted to make sure if they were to open the door, they didn't just see us sitting there alone.
I still remember the feeling too of just like bracing yourself and trying not to breathe or make any sudden movements and noise. And mind you, like her hallway in her house is not very big.
Walls are thin.
Yeah, walls are thin basically. And if we would have been laughing, they probably would have peeked in the room, even though it would have been dark. I mean, if somebody's laughing in it, we would have been busted. We definitely had a lot of moments like that of just sitting out on the world. I don't, is that the right term? But just like hiding away from
I'll stop the world
the
and
world and
hide
just
with you. Sorry.
I don't know
No,
that
I get.
song.
Oh, you don't know that song? I'll show you after.
No.
Anyway, so yeah, that's one of our earliest, fondest memories.
And then we just kept hanging out basically throughout senior year. Did we go to football games at all together?
Football was a huge thing in our high school. We had a really great football team. So football games are a big thing. I know Patty went to a lot. I didn't go to many. I think I'd only gone to maybe 3. It was so big that even now some people we know still go to like reunion football games, or not reunion, but
I've always wanted to go just to go back, but honestly, I would not know anybody. I can
literally.
understand if people have family that go and play or
Yeah.
at least just go to the high school, but I literally do not have anybody. So it would just be weird for me to go back.
I wish we had a reason.
Speaking of reunion, though, oh my gosh, in 3 years, we will have our. Who's organizing that? Is anybody organizing that?
Ashley.
Oh, okay.
Our friend actually, one of our friends in our friend group was the president of our
That's
class,
right.
so
Yeah.
she would be organizing it. I'd love to go to that, honestly. I really did enjoy our senior year, and I think you had a big part in that, or like you had a lot to do
Aw.
with it, which is nice, especially since our friend is the one who would be organizing this reunion.
Yeah, that would be really fun. It'll just be super interesting because now that I live in Germany, I'm not around the area a lot anymore and I haven't been since I went to college. So, it'll be really interesting to see where everybody is at in
Would
3
you
years
would you
as we just
bring
mentioned.
Benny?
I don't know, do people bring their spouses
I
with
think
them? I
they
feel like maybe
do.
if your spouse was like someone famous, it would matter.
Yeah, true. But no, I honestly do think that people bring their partners, or if they started a family, like they even bring their like kid or something.
Their kids? Oh my
We're
gosh,
gonna
yeah.
see
That would
people
be
bring
so
kids.
cute.
Yeah. We do know
Oh!
a lot of people from, our class in our high school that started families really early, which is obviously great for them. Wait, how do I not sound like weird about that? Like I don't want to sound like I'm
I
judging.
mean, everybody runs on different timelines or times in their lives, and some people have a family early, and I don't think there's a problem
No,
with
there's
it.
none.
So it'll just be really
It'll be so
interesting.
cute to see all the bibbies, all the kids, and be like, "Oh
You
my
can borrow them
gosh."
and then return them to their parents. Yes.
Who knows if the parents will let us? Um,
I know, right? But the real question is honestly, if none of our major friend group in high school has a kid at that reunion,
yeah.
there's there's gonna be a lot of question like, okay, who's getting married first? Because I want to go to a wedding.
I know, same. I freaking love weddings. Have you gone? I feel like you haven't gone to many, have you?
I've only gone to one of my
Oh, we
cousins.
gotta get you to
Yeah.
all these weddings. They're
Did
so
I
fun.
go to another? I know I had a blast, and I think I was in 8th grade, so I can only imagine. No, I went to
Oh,
2.
okay.
I went one in 8th grade or 9th grade, and then another time that I went was when I was
Oh,
in college.
nice.
That was fun, you know. I was of age and
Got to take
I got
advantage
the
of open bar.
yeah, exactly. And I can only imagine how hyphy people would get if it was someone from my high school.
Oh
So
my gosh, I know. I always dream of mine, even though I can wait a few years still. I don't know. I guess I am one of those typical people that dream of their wedding, but I know mine is going to be quote unquote lit, quote unquote hyphy. Hyphy is a Bay Area term. So
can you elaborate on that for those viewers or listeners who are not familiar with the term?
anyone that grew up in the Bay Area grew up listening to this Bay Area legend known as Mac Dre. Not everyone listens to his whole discography, but he has like 3, 4 songs that are really popular. And I think he was kind of like the captain of the high five movement. So like E40 and all these Bay Area legends, they were a part of this high five movement with Mac Dre. And so when their songs would come on, you just get hyphy. You just go crazy, go dumb, go stupid. I don't know if I did a good explanation or I did it justice, but that is basically what being hyphy, getting hyphy, the hyphy movement is. I guess enough about our high school and Bay Area culture. Let's get into where we parted ways. We did have one last summer filled with so many memories.
You even went with me to my college
Yeah.
orientation in San Diego. She was a real one, and I had never been to San Diego, or I had been to San Diego once years before, but never to my school that I chose. I'm a risk taker, apparently. And so she came with me and my mom, and we toured the school. And then 2 weeks later, I had to move in to college or to the school. So that's where we kind of parted ways. And we didn't know it was going to be kind of indefinitely, at least till
I know.
now. Just thinking about it, we were just thinking, oh, it's just going to be for college, blah blah, 4 years. Great, we thought.
Yeah. I really did like San Diego too. I remember there was a farmers market we went to. We also went to, I think, Ocean Beach.
It was Windansea Beach,
Oh,
actually.
yes.
It's more in the north end of San Diego.
That made me really fall in love with San Diego, like instantly. Oh, I remember we like had one of our last meals at the Boiling Crab, and I was talking about like, oh my gosh, I love this city. Like, I could move here, and I still believe that. Y'all, mark my words, I may end up living in San Diego.
Maybe that'll be our moment when we live together in San Diego, because I always said too, I wouldn't want to live my 20s or 30s in San Diego, but I could definitely see it as a town that I
Yes.
settle in and start a family in. And side note, my boyfriend and I met in San Diego, so he loves it just as much as I do. So maybe,
You'll
just
end up there
maybe.
together. Yeah, I remember I did ask him what his favorite parts of the US were that he'd been to. And San Diego was at the top of the list, and that I was like, oh,
It
is
was
it just
because
because
of
you
me,
met?
duh.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Is it just because you met her? San Diego is freaking gorgeous. And if you haven't been, definitely go. But I'm sure a lot of people have been. Yeah. So I did go with Patty to her orientation. And then I was there when she graduated. I feel like it's crazy. It's like one of those full circles. During her college career, I actually moved out there, not to San Diego. I wish. Although I do love LA. So I moved to LA. I lived in LA for around 2 years, and that's also when we were closer together distance wise and resumed our memories, made more, went on more adventures together.
Yeah, I would drive up on the weekend and spend the night with you
Yeah.
and Stevie.
Yeah.
So, can I call him
Of course.
Stevie? Is
Yeah.
that weird?
No,
Maybe.
we like
Okay.
that.
They were such great hosts, and of course, got some good meals in LA, whether it was homemade or at
you
a
know.
vegan joint,
Yeah.
also, because we became vegan. Were you already vegan when you moved to LA?
So just before, and who knew that LA would be vegan heaven? Like it was the best decision for me to make, especially after going vegan. But I went vegan when I just turned 20, and that was when I was still living out here. I got a good job after high school that enabled me to move out to my own apartment with my partner. And I went vegan in that apartment. Well, yeah, that's when I made the switch. And that same job ended up really stressing me out and really taking a toll on my mental. So I needed a change. I needed to move. And a health company I was a huge fan of had just posted a flyer kind of on Instagram announcing that they were hiring in the US. They were originally from London. They were opening up a US branch in LA. So I applied on a whim, kind of got it on a whim, and then moved out there. And so that was super nice because I was moving closer to Pete.
What was your favorite memory during that time period of us living, LA and San
Oh,
Diego?
wow. Going back to the vegan or how we both went vegan, we went to the vegan street fair together. And I remember because I was, no pun intended, beefing with my mans. And she was able to like help me keep my mind off of it and help keep me sane. And obviously it was resolved, it was settled. But that was like a really fun weekend. A lot of my favorite memories of us include food as well. So just eating good food, cooking together. There's not a prominent moment, maybe my birthday, and we went out in downtown LA and had fun together. That night was fun. Yeah, what about you? Do you have a standout memory?
I think when you visited me in San Diego was definitely a very nice moment because you got to see my college friends, and I always like to have people visit and kind of see the life that I have and meet the new people that I've met, yeah, through their eyes, so that when I'm talking to them about like how I went to this one spot, they can somehow imagine it, and I think it's just better that way, and it helps with the friendship or yeah, the relationship with that person. So it was really nice, and I got to take you to one of my favorite spots, Sunset Cliffs. And so
San Diego is just a stunner. I'm so happy that, my best friend chose that place to go to college.
yeah, so after I graduated college, you were still in LA, and I took a few months of Europe trip after graduation. I moved to Seattle afterwards because while I was away in my Europe trip, my
Hmm,
grandfather passed away,
R.I.P.
and one of
Legend.
his last wishes was to basically have the family be closer to each other and spend more time together. And my mom was like, yeah, let's move to Seattle because her sister, my aunt, lives there. She was still living in the Bay Area as well. So after I returned from my Europe trip, I was like, okay, mom, you have to make a decision. Should I look for jobs here in the Bay Area or look for some in Seattle? She was like, okay, go ahead and look for a job in Seattle, and then if anything, if you get a job there, you can move in with your aunt first, start the job, and I will follow a month or two later. Surprise, surprise, she didn't follow, but I did get a job.
Mom!
Started my career there in Seattle, and moved out of my aunt's place. I moved in with a group of gals, and they're still my friends to this day. So, yeah, I guess again, like lucky pick, right? I don't know how I
Yeah,
get so lucky with these living
definitely.
situations.
And it's great because it shows how versatile you can be and how flexible you are. Like you can adjust to all these different kinds of climates and conditions. And when you first moved to Seattle, I visited you.
And it was for my birthday, and the
Yeah,
best way to make me feel less lonely in a new city, because I literally just moved a few weeks before.
on her own,
So,
like without your
yeah.
mom, and then finding out your mom's not gonna follow you.
You remember you also meant to visit me later the next year, and then
Y'all,
this bee missed her
I know.
flights.
So I was flying out of SFO to Seattle, obviously, and I got there with time, like at a time that I usually go, but the self check-in kiosks were not working, and then the check-in line was insane. So I just got in line anyway, and by the time that I got to the front, literally the agent I spoke to said, "Your gates just closed." And they cannot reopen. No gates can ever reopen, but they just closed this second. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? And I think it was a holiday weekend. Because of that, all flights were booked. There was no other flight that I could get on that day nor the next day. But that's what happened. And we were supposed to go on, make more memories, go to Vancouver together. In moments like these, you always look for something to blame because it just helps you feel a little better. Like it's not just you, or there has to be a solution or a blame to this. But it was just like, who could you blame?
Yeah, or like I could have easily said, "Kim, what the heck? Like, get your ish together." And but I just really took a step back and said, "Okay, she's already feeling horrible, and yeah, shit happens."
Yeah,
So
so those were one of those moments. So that was a year after I actually visited her originally and made it to my flights. Within that time, I moved back to the Bay Area, closer to San Francisco. But yeah, so I moved back from LA because life happens. I'm not going to get into it, but life happens. Just know that. I wanted to move closer to my family. So while she was in Seattle, I was in this town or this city called Daly City, which is very close to San Francisco. So that's where we were living for quite a while we were apart after the SoCal days. All the while, we always kept up with regular communication and FaceTime calls and texting and, letting the other know when life events or major events were happening, and we were always there for each other. If ever you find yourself in a friendship where you guys keep moving farther and farther away because each and every life is going to take someone a different place, a different route. I don't know if that makes sense.
that totally makes sense.
Nice. Okay. So, is it just a line? No. If ever you find yourself in a similar situation to us, just know not to be scared, to not think, oh my gosh, we're going to lose touch. We're going to lose our bond. We're going to lose how connected we are. Maybe it'll dim down, and that's obviously okay and natural, and you're focusing on yourself and your own life. But don't be scared. You're grown, you're an adult, you know how to keep in touch with others. So just make it a priority. I mean, there were times where we fell out for a bit. I feel as though when you have those kind of friends, and I feel that Patty is obviously that to me, where you can just either hit each other up and pick up where you left off like nothing even happened, then it's worth saving and worth keeping up with.
Yeah, and I think the key to that is definitely being understanding and not being a high maintenance friend. Because as you move on or as you start new things in life, I mean, at the end of the day, do you want a supportive friend or a friend that's going to hold you back?
Right.
Is that the wine or is that me?
Oh,
No.
no. She
Um,
got deep there.
but I mean, honestly, we all will take different paths, like Kim said, and maybe it won't align with the best friend that you had from since kindergarten. But like what matters is being open and communicating, and even calling out each other, saying, "Hey, haven't heard from you in a while," or "Hey, you didn't text me back when I texted you 2 months ago. So what is up? Are you alive?" Or something like that. And we've definitely had that where you even called me out, Kim. Hey, I don't appreciate you reading my
I think I
message but not
sent like a
replying.
paragraph
And
and I was like, how is she just gonna see it? Because it shows like seen or read. How is she just gonna read it and not respond? So I don't even think you left it too long. I think it was just like 2 days and I was just like, hello.
so being in Germany, I mean, I reading messages like after work, like right now, it's dinner time for me or I'm getting off work. So sometimes when I read a message, I leave it on read too long. And in this instance, it was one day, but it was a serious conversation. And so I totally get her. And I mean, I didn't even make up an excuse. I literally said, hey, I have no excuse. I just read it and didn't respond because I don't like to respond to things
Yeah.
half-assed, really. So I'd rather take the time too and be like, oh man, like really understand the situation rather than just saying, oh man, that sucks. Like
Yeah.
to me, that's worse.
Yeah. I feel that a lot of people can relate to that as well.
This experience of just maybe not even long distance, maybe you do live in the same town, but your work
Yeah.
schedules are so different. You guys just kind of are not interested in the same things as you used to. I mean, from high school, right? You kind of
Definitely
change a
changed.
little bit. So just communicate out that with the other person and see where you're at. And sadly, I mean, some things that I've learned since high school is that some friendships do end and maybe they pick up when the right time comes. I definitely have one friendship that I could think of right now that's exactly that. You know, people get placed in your life at the right moment and they leave your life at the right moment as well. I'm just happy that you're still here
Oh,
despite um
distance.
distance, yeah, and the maybe weeks or months sometimes that we don't talk, but we just always pick
Yeah,
up.
right where we left off. For the most part, I feel that, it's just a part of life. It's just natural to have those friendships that only last a short while in your life. And then you form new bonds with other people and they do the same as well. And I'm sure the love will always be there, for the time that you guys were friends together. This podcast, we're going to talk a lot about friendship, but I think that's the main things. Obviously, keeping up with the friendships you want to keep up with and you feel that are worth it and letting others ride out the way they're meant to.
I guess what we're just trying to say is it's okay to call it out or to not call it out too, just depending on what you would rather do or like if you'll regret not reaching out or, if you'll regret reaching out. All friendships are different and unique, and that's what makes them beautiful.
We didn't go over how you ended up in Germany. So you're there now.
Yeah, so basically, I was in Seattle, and my significant other did live in Germany at that time. And so, again, I'm in this long distance relationship now, not just friendship and relationship. I mean,
She's a long distance pro.
gosh. I mean, I actually really liked it because I still had time for my new friends and finding myself in this new city, but also having this person dedicated to me and vice versa, me dedicated to him to really maintain this relationship to at a distance. But yeah, so a startup company from where I live now reached out and eventually I went through the whole interview process with them and I got the job. It's gonna be a year and a couple of weeks since I moved.
Oh
So,
man, so it'll
yeah.
we're coming up on a year since we've seen each other then as well.
I have a question. Was there ever a time you resented me a
Are
little
you
bit
asking
for
because we've
moving?
had wine?
Well, I thought that would be interesting to know because I think not everyone would be able to handle it as easy when someone really close to them moves away, not only once, but
But should I,
3
like, take the
times,
hint
and these are
now?
big
Like, are
moves
you
as
just
well.
trying to
So,
get away from me? Escape me?
I'm just trying to push you now. We
Oh my
started
gosh.
this
Just
podcast
to
just to be
ensure it
really
stays
long
long
distance
distance.
from each
No.
other.
Obviously, that's a joke. Is it? I'm just kidding.
For the record, it was a joke.
I don't think I could ever resent you. I've always just been
Aw.
happy for you. Like I mentioned earlier, I've always admired that you have your shit together. And I was just like so proud to know someone that could do these things and not like freak out or like lose all their shit or something. You literally moved away for college, which, a lot of people do. Yeah, but you made a name for yourself, a life for yourself out there. And then you did the same in Seattle. And it's just like, wow, it's cool to have a best friend that's capable of so much. So honestly, yeah, I never resented you. There were times where I would struggle and I feel that anyone in a long distance relationship can relate to this, whether it be romantic or just a friendship. There were times where I'd find myself in a dark place or just really sad and in need of a cheerful lift or my best friend's energy. That would be really nice to have in person. But even in those moments, I didn't resent you. It was more so I was sad. Like, oh, I
Yeah.
wish she could be here. I wish she could just come over and we could just talk or go on a drive or just go out to eat together. Yeah,
Yeah,
there were
I
those
know.
moments. And when I found myself super sad in those moments, I just would always remind myself, you probably have dealt with the same things, even though, a lot of it is your choice to move, but still, this is for like to progress in life and you can't just stay back for a really good friendship. You obviously, if it's worth it, if it will make your life better to move wherever you want to move, then do that and progress and don't stay back. And I know with that comes, oh, I miss their energy. I miss them in person. I miss this and that. But at the end of the day, I did this for me and what would be better for my life. And touching back on what I was saying earlier, when you have those kinds of friendships that you're leaving, but they're the kind that you're able to pick back up and it's with the people that will support you regardless, what can you do? Just move, just do you, and you'll still have that when you want to visit back or when you want wherever they move or you want to visit them. You'll always have that if that's strong enough of a bond.
I really appreciate that. That was so beautiful, and I'm happy to hear that you think I have my shit together because there's like 1% of the time that I feel like I do. Maybe
Oh.
I'm a little more confident now, but definitely during those times, like maybe even just a week ago, I feel like I didn't have that sort of confidence too. Of course, I was, when you were going through some things personally as well, and I would find out about it later, I really it made me feel like a bad friend almost. But at
Oh.
the same time, I knew maybe the distance made it difficult for you to communicate it with me at the moment. And I completely get
Yeah.
it because I also feel the same sometimes, especially with time difference and whatever excuse we could think about. Sometimes you just get so caught up that the people around you are the ones you want to tell more of that to, or like literally physically closer to you. And I totally get that. But there have been times where I feel like, wow, I could be a better friend here and at a
Yeah.
distance. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of lost now for
No, no, no.
words.
With that, it's already really considerate of you to even think those things. So just having that kind of mindset rather than like, I did this for me. Like, why are they sad? Or I don't know. I don't think anyone thinks to that level, but just something along those lines, just being super considerate and open and accepting and honest with yourself and how things are going is really great step to being a better friend and furthering that friendship even if you can't be in person. So I think it's great that you've just kept a super open and honest mind about it.
Yeah, and I think what it is too is that because I did move away a few times, and maybe if I also didn't reach out to you about a low moment that I had, I think subconsciously I was trying not to, and I even don't do this to my family either sometimes. I think there's that subconscious feeling of I made this choice and I better stick it
Ah,
out, or otherwise, not that I think you would tell me, oh, this was your own decision or this was your fault why things are happening, but I feel that a lot, and that pressure to do well or like make it through this hard time on my own, quote unquote. But really,
mm,
I think, yeah, having a lot more time for solitude, it makes me realize that it really takes a village to get through life. I mean, you can't just get through it on your own. I mean, some people do, but I think for me, what works would be to really just reconnect and have the people I really care about at the end of the day around me, even not physically, but just there
that
in
makes total
essence.
sense. I feel like it's proven in so many different studies and a lot of research. It's nice to have that human connection to get through hard times and whatnot. As long as we're keeping in touch and being consistent. And this podcast is definitely helping us, at least, with that, because now we've got kind of our schedule going. And recently, we've been talking to each other like every day, every single day.
Thank you, LDBFFs pod. Honestly, it doesn't feel like a responsibility because we both like this creative outlet to be able to chat and edit these podcasts and work with friends on the artwork. So shout out to Janelle, by the way. She's my friend here in Hamburg, and she's also American. We met through a mutual friend who we connected with on Bumble.
I
Maybe
love
we'll
this.
get into that in next episodes or next few
Yeah,
episodes
like
about
making friend
making
tips,
friends.
friendship
Yep.
tips.
Friendship tips, friend tips. Shout out to Janelle because she's really helped us also launch this podcast. If you're looking at the artwork, the beautiful artwork that we have on this podcast, she did it all. So thank you.
We do have an Instagram page. We did mention this briefly in the first podcast. It is at Long Distance BFFs Pod. Feel free to give a follow or just check us out. We'll be posting more regularly on that as we continue to record these catch ups publicly.
Before we go, just wanted to say reach out to that one friend that you haven't reached out to in a while and I've been wanting to. It's okay, just put on the big pants and do it.
Again, it's okay if they don't reach back out to you. At least you know you tried. And I don't know, I feel like personally that would give me peace if I had a friend that I really needed to. And I actually do have an experience. We could get into it into another podcast, but I recently reached out to someone that I was very close to and we're very friendly again. Yeah, sometimes it's really worth it.
Thanks again for tuning in and listening to both of us ramble about our high school days and our post high school days. And
Go into some memories. Yeah, we really truly appreciate it. Anyone that's listening.
don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and tune in for a new episode next Wednesday.
So, with that, good morning from Kim.
And good night from Patty. Bye.
Damn it.
Okay, see you. We'll
Okay,
we'll get
yeah.
this right one day.
All right. Bye.